Sasha Shakur was arrested for allegedly shooting and killing a man in Massachusetts, posted a video admitting that he uses the women's locker room at a local spa because he identifies as a woman. This alleged killer was invading female restrooms. Trans violence is an epidemic.
So right now I want to talk about my experience as a trans woman.
I'm gonna stop you right there. There ain't no way with your bald ass head and your deep ass voice anyone believes you are actually dysphoric. Get the fuck out of my face, you disingenuous cunt.
Going to the spa. I'm not gonna mention the specific spa I'm at for safety reasons. They have been pretty accommodating. I wouldn't even say accommodating, I would say accepting of my gender identity. And I don't want that to change if I let the internet know where I've been able to be safe as a trans woman. Anyway.
I hate that these people can just lie so blatantly like this. And there will be a whole host of deranged women and soyed out men who will see this and be like, oh my god, if only we had accepted him more, this wouldn't have happened. I don't understand, bro.
I have been to this spa before. The first time I was here,
Homie just threw on hoop rings and lip gloss. He was literally like, oh, I look like I'm in a telenovela. I'm the main character.
I was the only one here when I showed up, and the woman asked me, and I think I had my hoops in, but I probably had like around the same amount of facial hair I have now. I didn't have lip gloss or anything. I don't think I had lip gloss on that, but I'm pretty sure I had my hoops in. Or I had earrings.
If I saw this man in public with like no lip gloss and hoop earrings, I'd be like, oh, he's just gay. Like, oh, that's just a gay twink, bro. Like, what do you mean?
Earrings in.
Hoops mean girl.
And that first time.
Yeah, hoops and studs, the two genders.
The woman asked me, which locker room, what gender you identify with, and I said, I'm a woman, I identify as a woman. And then she took me to the female locker room, and that was the first
She's a dumb bitch.
Time I had been in a female locker room, and it was so humanizing because it was set up to humanize.
What? I have never had the thought when I walked into a woman's restroom of, oh, this is so human. What a human restroom. I feel seen and human. Fucking Mark Zuckerberg sounding ass. What the fuck? Imagine how many female clientele they lost from that one stupid woman's decision. I can't even imagine. So we have this, more trans violence. Sasha Shakur, a man pretending to be a woman, was just arrested in Massachusetts after he allegedly shot and killed a 57-year-old man. Shakur was reportedly spray painting on a local bridge when the victim took a picture of him, which started an altercation. Shakur then allegedly shot the man during the incident. Shakur was arrested at his home, which was covered in graffiti such as Black Lives Matter, Free Palestine, and Defund the Police. Why does this keep happening? Can I just say how insulting it is that this thing had a house and graffitied it? Bro, what are you doing? That is a nice skirt, though. I like his skirt. I will say, at least he was able to follow directions. He didn't start trying to run. I'll give him credit for that. That's rare. I know. That's why I'll give him a credit for that one. That's rare. This just looks like someone from East LA. It does. A very peaceful arrest. This cop looking at the house is probably like, what the fuck am I seeing? The guy only survived because he's a white male. Brother, in what world is this a white man? Are you part of the, like, government facility that does the crime statistics? If this man is white, I am whole ass Japanese. Like, what the hell? It's about as white as the evening sky. What the fuck? We were like, what, here-ish? Doggo! Adding white to the list of modern-day meaningless words. True and real. He's clearly a white male. That's true. He survived a police interaction. Honorary white now. Don't think about the white victims of police brutality. You know, those don't count. A modern Englishman. He's white by Netflix standards. I hate that you're right. But there are some articles here. Wait, he has shit written on his windows too. Can we zoom in on that? What does he have written on the fucking windows, bro? Plant something something. Stop Cop City. Sasha Shakur and Free Lil Dark. Police in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts say a man was killed Thursday morning after confronting another man over graffiti at a local park. It has since been discovered that the suspect in the shooting is a trans-identifying male who has a criminal record. Wow! Authorities responded to Jordan Park at 8:47 a.m. after a 911 caller said he was being attacked. During the call, the dispatcher heard gunfire in the background, said Shrewsbury Police Chief Kevin Anderson. While officers were responding, dispatch advised that they could actually hear shots on the 911 call. When officers arrived, they located a victim, provided medical attention, and that victim was transported to a local hospital, where tragically he died of his injuries. The victim, a 57-year-old man whose name has not been released, was shot multiple times. He had just dropped off his 6-year-old child at school before encountering the suspect. Worcester County District Attorney Joe Early Jr. said, "Oh, man. Damn, he was old to be having a kid, too. That's nuts." The gentleman who was shot was returning from walking his 6-year-old child to school when he interacted with the man on the bridge. It appeared that the man was doing some type of spray painting. He took a picture of the man, and that started the altercation. Police later arrested the alleged shooter, identified on social media as Sasha Shakur and legally as Snehal Ansh Shrivastava. He has to go back. Outside a home at 29 Edgewater Ave around 11:45 a.m., SWAT officers with a K9 entered the property minutes later. Any street that has the word edge in it, that is, you don't want to be there. That's like MLK Boulevard levels of lock your car doors, get out as fast as you can. I don't care if it's like Edgewater, Edgewood, Edge Rock, you know, anything that has edge in it, you get the fuck out of there. Can understand why he wanted to change his name. The residence was covered in graffiti with slogans including Free Palestine, Free Congo, BLM, GLM, and Ganja Gardens. A sign in the window of the house that reads Sasha Shakur also confirms a social media account username. That's really helpful when they just tag their name everywhere. Authorities described Srivastava as known to police. Say the line! He was on our radar! Though no immediate charges were announced. Law enforcement activity throughout the morning was concentrated around the Jordan Pond walking trail, about a third of a mile from where Srivastava was taken into custody. Police tape closed off parts of the trail and sections of shoreline where graffiti were also visible. Residents in the area were instructed to shelter in place until police confirmed the suspect had been located. Shrewsbury Public Schools informed families that students and staff at the nearby Coolidge School were safe. Officials said the shooting did not involve the school and no other campuses were affected. The shooting comes just one day after another trans person, Robert Westman, killed 2 children and injured 17 others at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. Andy No contributed to this report. Andy No is how I found this, actually. He was at the edge of the radar. I'm just going to quickly check this other article by Andy No, since this is where I found it, to see if there's anything new in this one, because it does say it's been updated with more information. Sunal Shrivastava is a 26-year-old male. Identifies with she, her pronouns. Vandalism of public property. Victim has been identified as 57-year-old Kevin Doherty. Oh. No comment was able to confirm Srivastava's real name from records associated with the house where the suspect was arrested. He is an Indian national. He should have been sent back. I'm Sasha Shakur. I'm a black Indian two-spirit trans being raising funds for myself and my community. God damn. Despite the seriousness of the case, Shrewsbury Police and the Worcester County Sheriff's Office have so far refused to release the name of the suspect. I contacted the Sheriff's Office and left a message. Oh, GLM is Gang Lives Matter. We found out, chat. Artist, and spiritualist, creator of Gang Lives Matter. My album King is out now. Sar, I redeem Kangs. Srivastava was arrested at his home following the incident. His residence displayed numerous leftist slogans, including Black Lives Matter, Free Palestine, Defund the Police, and Stop Cop City. He surrendered on the street and was taken into custody without incident. How much do you think he tanked the property values of his neighbors by graffitiing his house like that, man? What is this?
Opportunity presented itself once it will again. All I'm trying to do is win. And these niggas ain't my friends, and these women play pretend.
Can he say that? He's Indian, not black. I thought the rules were like you had to be black to say it.
So I'll never trust a bitch. That's why she on my dick. Double C, cause I'm a crib. I'm a Calvin Coolidge crib, so come on, I'm my president. I'm a product of this shit, but still I'm trying not to trip.
What?
See the rappers all endorsing Trump and all of them legit. And everything I sacrifice is all they rich as militants. I'm still sticking on my chest to say I'm crip, I'm different. That don't mean I'm something less, it just me, I do not recruit.
In February 2025, Srivastava posted about difficulties entering sex-segregated spaces as a trans-identified person.
And I think I had my hoops in, and that made me feel unsafe, even though I was the only person in there. At any point, I was worried that a man might walk in and see a woman changing.
Sorry, chat, I ain't a woman today. I ain't got my hoops in.
Because I have breasts. I don't care if I have facial hair, I have breasts. I don't want to be in a locker room with men.
Just because you have gynecomastia does not make you a woman.
And I cried a lot that time. When I was in the locker room, I cried a lot. I felt stressed in my body, like I wasn't able to de-stress. Even after the massage treatment and everything, I still was stressed. After the treatment, I cried. I went in my car and I cried for like an hour. And I wanted to kill myself after that. And I didn't think it would be that serious, but I really was destabilized by that. And this time I came back and I booked a session. And I booked a treatment. And in the notes I wrote, I'm a trans woman. If I have to use the male locker room, please just cancel my session. I don't think they even saw that because of how quickly I booked it and showed up within the hour. But I showed up, and at first she started to walk me over to the male locker room, and then I said, I'm a woman. And then she just corrected and brought me to the female locker room. And there was another woman that was getting her treatment that came in with me, and she didn't look like she had an issue with me being in there at all. She looked more comfortable with me being in there than I even was comfortable, because I was still—
Oh, come the fuck on. Oh my god. Oh my god. I am so sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. Bring back the asylums. I don't think we need to listen to that whole thing. He's fucking crazy. On one of his websites where he explains his ideology, he calls for blacks to group together for a revolution against the US. He also expressed militant support for Palestinian nationalism. Much like the weird condition where, like, non-white people are for some reason, you know, the strongest white nationalists. If you're not black and you're encouraging, like, a black nationalist revolution, your fate is probably not going to be very good. The people of Palestine do not deserve to be terrorized off the face of the planet because some fuckhead crackers think it's their divine right to rape and kill. The state of Israel is a fraudulent Israel and can go right to hell. We should kill them all, save Palestine, and just be done with it. Bro, what the fuck? Bro. This man was a literal ticking fucking time bomb. Are you kidding me? He continued, the protection of Palestine requires the eradication of Western-based genocidal white supremacy. This will require parallel actions of American warfare to eradicate the enemy at the source of their creation. We must stop all cop cities and reclaim them as training grounds for our own warriors. Eradicate the enemy at the source of their creation? Is he advocating to glass Africa so we can get rid of Yakub so Yakub stops making white people? That seems about as rational as everything else he says, right? This was not Srivastava's first run-in with law enforcement. In September 2022, Westboro police arrested him after a brutal, violent attack. Officers spoke with a witness who stated the alleged suspect drove his vehicle towards the victim in an attempt to run him over, and then exited his vehicle wielding a machete, which he used to cut the victim during the altercation. The Westboro Police Department released in a press statement at the time. The violent assault case was dismissed last month? How the fuck can you try to run someone over and then get out of your car with a machete and then cut them up and then have the case dismissed? What the fuck? How does that happen? Srivastava was charged on Friday with armed assault with intent to murder and carrying a gun without a license. The mainstream media is not reporting that he's trans-identifying, and he was ordered held without bail. Armed assault with intent to murder. The guy is dead. He did murder. What do you mean? What do you mean? So, they have a Daily Mail article linked here, and I'm sure this is just transcribing most of it. An active shooter situation was underway at a Catholic school in South Minneapolis, and this was a couple of days ago. Gunmen attacked 20 people at the Annunciation Church on 54th Street, according to preliminary reports that have not yet been confirmed by police. These 4 people are injured, 2 are dead in the mass shootout, the reports add. Minnesota State Troopers, local police, FBI agents, paramedics, and a large number of ambulances have responded to the scene. Update 1 here. At least 20 people are feared to have been gunned down. I think there's only a confirmation of 2 deaths, right? It was an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, if I remember right. Obviously terrible, but it's good that there's not 20. Preliminary reports indicate at least 4 people are injured in the mass shooting, although authorities have not yet confirmed the number of victims. On Sunday, we honored Mary Grace Westman, who is retiring from Annunciation. She has provided such wonderful hospitality, friendship, and compassion to all who gathered for the last 5 years at Annunciation. You will be missed. Congratulations on your retirement. So his mom worked at the church that he shot up, and she retired from working there in 2021. This is also the mom who is refusing to work with law enforcement for some fucking reason, which is kind of suspicious, you know? More archives of the videos that I can't show. Chat, don't write shit on your firearms. I mean, I think that can be fine. Just don't write obvious hate symbols on your firearms, right? Like, oh yeah, here we go. Like, maybe don't write kill Donald Trump on your firearm. Maybe don't do that. Rip and tear, the little Doom reference. We got just random shit on here. Hello, brother. Of course they drew loss, because why not? I don't know what the meme next to loss is. Do you believe in God? Well, this guy obviously did not. Just another kill thing. Killer sadist, sponsored by BlackRock. Yeah, then, you know. You know? Modern day Philistines are more concerned with optics than substance. True. True. Look at the wrist. Yeah, it's a very thick wrist. Alvinin Holmes, Lanza, Rostyakov, Whitman, are these just names of shooters? I only recognize Lanza. Did he just unironically write the names of a bunch of mass shooters on his fucking gear? That is psychopathic. Why is he like this? What the fuck? There's more I didn't even know he had more than one. What the fuck? It says love on one of his magazines. Please. Please. Where's your god? Suck on this. Actual demented behavior. Where is your god? Actual demented behavior. He said in the manifesto he was spending all his paychecks on weapons. The guy who posted the pictures explained one of the words on one of the guns. Koyaanisqatsi is a famous non-narrative documentary about the effects of civilization on nature. It's a Hopi word that means world out of balance. Robert Bowers was the perpetrator of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. That is such an obscure piece of knowledge. How does anyone remember that? That's crazy. Minneapolis mayor slams people who are praying for the victims of the Catholic school attack.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
I mean, yeah, but gun control is not the answer to that. That's not actually going to bring any kind of peace. It's just going to make us more, like, able to get killed in other easier ways because criminals don't give a shit about what laws you institute. Democrat demands common sense prayer control. And also, it's like when people are talking about praying for the kids, it's just like when something this nonsensical happens, even though I don't pray, I understand the meaning behind when people say they're doing that. Right? Like, you just feel at such a loss that something so nonsensical has happened, you know? This loser cried at Floyd's casket. Oh boy. Oh boy, he's one of them. I see. I see. Reddit's worried about the optics. Oh boy, can I see this Reddit thread? r/4tran is private. Alright, I'm not allowed to see it, but here's a screenshot from it. Someone said, resisting the urge to say something I really shouldn't. Total cis death was towered by some other people. Totally not unhinged behavior. Shooting made by a white cis hetero boy. We mourn all the victims of this accident with all our heart. Shooting made by a queer, not confirmed. Fucking trans identities, they will pay off. They will pay off? What do they mean by this? And also, if we want to get to the nitty gritty, this man was a cishet white male. Like, I mean, any way you slice it, this guy was not gay. And, you know, a breakfast comprehension. Missing the real issue just to hate on a minority you dislike is wild. A shooting made by a white cis hetero boy. Poor kid was mentally unwell. This is why men's mental health matters. I mean, this person was also very mentally unwell. And it didn't help that they were mentally unwell and involving themselves in highly radicalized spaces that glorify violence. Anyone not getting ready to abandon the ship is kind of blind and stupid. The world is over, at least for now. What did they mean by this? What did they mean by this? To be fair, there are too many shootings in this stupid country for any specific one to stay in the spotlight for long. Even the political assassinations in Minnesota fell out of relevancy like immediately after they happened. Who cares? Optics is already below hell. Another trans shooter, dumb fuck, a fall for psyops when they're accusing every offender to be trans. It's not accusing if they're claiming it, but again, this is why it is important to differentiate from, like, actively dysphoric people and then these crazy ones who are fetishists or ideologues using a trans identity as a criticism shield. But there's a lot of people who haven't committed mass shootings who don't want you to do that because then they can't continue pushing their fetish or their ideology. Stay vigilant. Cisoids are lurking. That's a new oid word for me. It's literally a trans person who posted pics about killing Trump. The thing that never happens happened again. Trans violence is a real problem. What an easy bet. Imagine when is the things that never happened again going to become like some kind of dog whistle, man? The median cis American is more likely to believe trans people, why are genetically predatory school shooters and rethinking gun laws, it's so over. When we talk about the like white male shooters who have clear mental health problems, it's usually they were on some kind of antipsychotic drugs. What are the odds that this trans shooter was on antipsychotic drugs? What? I really don't understand. I'm hoping this is a troll account. Right, this has to be a troll account. Terrible that all of these news programs persist in the horrific offense of misgendering Robin Westman, who formerly began identifying as female from male. I don't think you should give a shit about someone's pronouns when they've psychopathically murdered people. I feel like that's a line anyone should be able to easily draw. For those unaware of the type of people politically in charge of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a little video here.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those San Diego parents. I've become friends with school shooters.
I don't even remember him saying that. Why would you say that? What is going on in Minnesota? What is going on? Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan, wearing a Protect Trans Kids shirt. That's just a little weird. It's a little odd, bro. Brian Krasenstein saying very silly things. Praying is the problem here, not the solution. People use prayer instead of action. If prayer worked, a house of prayer wouldn't have just experienced this tragedy. All I know is that it's clearly not working. You guys remember how I said that, like, I stopped believing in God as a child because I prayed for God to make Pokemon real and he didn't? This is like child thinking. I don't think that adults who pray genuinely believe that because they prayed, the thing they prayed for will happen. It's just a comforting thing that makes people feel better about either terrible or inexplicable things that happen. Need to find the local bishop's response to the anti-prayer statements. Again, somehow these fuckers are the lovely and tolerant and high IQ people. Literally operating on like a child's worldview. That's crazy to me. Updates on the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. There were 2 fatalities, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. In addition, 14 children and 3 adults were injured. The shooter's been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. It's about time. See, a lot of people in chat disagreed with me saying hate crime should apply to people that they don't normally apply to, because most of you are just like, hate crime just shouldn't exist. I was like, yeah, in a perfect world, maybe they wouldn't. But if hate crimes are going to exist, I feel like they should be applied equally. All right, if they're going to call anything against certain groups a hate crime, I'm glad that this is being counted as one.
All of us. And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
Bro, kids got shot. Why are you talking about the trans community? Who is that guy? Wasn't there a comedian? Was it Norm Macdonald? I can't remember. They tweeted out something like, yeah, the terror attack was terrible, but think of how this is going to make all the peaceful Muslims look. Was that Norm Macdonald? That was Norm? Hell, fucking good old Norm. Love that guy. Gee, I wonder why.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
I don't think they need any help being villainized. I'm gonna be real.
We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
That's a great place to cut that off, actually. Here's another screenshot, which I think is probably Reddit. Someone said, wake up, another mass shooting. Please don't be trans, please don't be trans, please don't be trans, repeated a million times. Someone said, is that the first thing you think about when you hear of children being shot and murdered in a school on the first week back? They responded, yes. The person asked, why? And the first person said, because I value trans lives more than cisoid lives. Yeah, like I said earlier, don't really need any help villainizing themselves, actually. There's not really anything we can say that they haven't said themselves that's way worse. Let's be honest. This is on r/mass killers. In the wake of today's tragedy in Minnesota, the sub's mod team understand that there's a lot of public interest in the case. The team is also aware of an online account and online postings apparently associated with the shooter in this incident. Even though the evidence of a connection does seem strong, for safety reasons, any and all posts on the sub about the shooter and his online activities will be deleted until law enforcement confirms the shooter's identity in a press conference/release. Please withhold whatever you have about this sort of material until the police clear everything up. Nowadays, information sharing in the minutes and hours after a mass attack, especially one with high visibility such as this, is characteristically confusing, frenetic, and rife with misinformation, unintentional or otherwise. Additionally, posts about the shooter's videos and writings in connection with the attack may potentially be a violation of the sub's rules against sharing manifestos, live streams, etc. Thank you for understanding, and please wish the victims, families, and congregation of the Annunciation Church a speedy recovery from this horrific act. And of course, please remember the 2 children tragically lost today and commemorate them however you can. This is why the farms is preferable, because they will let everything be posted, and if something is wrong, it will get corrected. It's like, I've reported on shootings in real time as they are happening, and as we're getting, like, the information posted online. And it's like, usually the only thing I shy away from is reporting people's names. Because reporting a name that could be incorrect could be kind of dangerous. Oh, I haven't thought about reset era in ages. User banned drive-by posting unsourced information in a sensitive thread, account in junior phase. The alleged shooter is trans apparently, and the right-wing grifters on X have already started with the hate and fear-mongering. User with 96 posts decides to chime in. Isn't 96 like a decent amount if you're not living on a forum? No, they aren't, and you know it. Not to dogpile, but the moment someone finds they're writing alleged in their post should really stop and not make that post. Are you going to apply that to journalists then? My wife mentioned something about seeing that the shooter was trans. She was only asking me because she doesn't want that to control the narrative. But I also remember the shooter is trans being part of other shootings too, and can't remember if it's ever been true. Maybe the shooting at Covenant in Tennessee. Want to make my post clear? I'm only asking because I'm trying to gain some clarity on an event and counteract misinformation. I see that's already the fucking narrative. God, literally, children are dead. Weirdos LARPing online most affected. Yeah, there's a name change filed for the alleged shooter. That's going to be the narrative. You'll also begin to see even more Democrats distance themselves from trans because of it. If this is confirmed, none of the narrative will be about guns or the shooting itself as usual. Why should it be about guns? If a crazy person wants to kill people, they are going to do it. Gun does not kill people. People kill people. As stated, this kind of shooter identity was going to happen sooner or later. The problem remains on the guns in question. The problem about the guns in question is how this person managed to get them, and the mother is very suspicious. American Christians are definitely their own sect sometimes. A fucking cult is what it is. I live in the country at the center of Catholicism, and yet America makes it look tame by comparison with these kind of takes. I don't understand how you turn a shooting at a Catholic school that resulted in fatalities into some kind of criticism about Christianity and Catholicism. Like, how does their brain work? Don't answer that. Here's one from Christy Gnome. We have confirmation that the shooter at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was a 23-year-old man claiming to be transgender. The deranged monster targeted our most vulnerable young children praying in their first morning mass of the school year. This deeply sick murderer scrawled the words, "For the children and where is your God?" and killed Donald Trump on a Rifle magazine. This level of violence is unthinkable. Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn with them, we pray for healing, and we will never forget them. I don't understand how, like, as a parent, you don't go crazy after something like this. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody made this post. If you look at Washington Post school shooting database and remove accidental discharges, gang violence, police shootings, etc., there have been 4 mass school shootings since 2023, and 2 of the perpetrators were transgender, 50%. And then this was a reply in the comments. We have the non-binary shooter. We had the Denver shooter identified as trans, Aberdeen, Nashville, Philly, and Perry. I don't even remember the Perry shooter. I don't recognize the Denver shooter either. I remember reporting on the other ones, though. There was a rumor, however, ultimately that was misinformation by an uninformed reporter that was camelbacked by others. So, not a part of the 09A cult, whatever the fuck that is. So this looks like a time-stamped rundown of, like, everything that happened. Senior Vice President of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus reviewed a recent YouTube video by Westman showing various guns and ammunition. Dorr identified the weapons as an AR-15 rifle, Mossberg 590 Cruiser shotgun, Smith & Wesson M&P compact 9mm handgun with 3 magazines, and a revolver that appears to be a Colt 38 Special Police issue. He also saw in the video 2 30-round AR-15 magazines among numerous other holding anywhere from 20 to 60 rounds. AR-15 magazine had M855 NATO green tip ammunition, while the 9mm handgun had full metal jacket rounds. Both of these are relatively cheap range ammunition, not usually used for hunting or self-defense. The NATO round is designed to shoot through barricades utilizing a steel core. They're sold cheaply as surplus range ammunition. Twin Cities restaurants responded to Wednesday's tragedy the way they know best, through hospitality. The Lowbrow offered gift certificates for meals to victims and families of victims who are regulars of the South Minneapolis restaurant, asking friends and neighbors of the affected to get the gift cards or meals to those who need them. Our hearts are heavy, full of rage and sorrow, the Lowbrow wrote on Facebook. South Minneapolis know that we love you and hope to be there for you in the coming days and weeks. We want to be a place for you to break bread and grieve. Red Wagon Pizza, about a mile from Annunciation, is closing early Wednesday at 7 p.m., so team members can attend a candlelight vigil. El Sazon Cocina and Tragos, which is around the corner from the school, offered their restaurant as a place to sit, gather, grieve, or simply share a meal with others. If you need comfort, a listening ear, or just a reminder that this community cares with you, our doors are open. That's really fucking nice of, like, community places to do. Let's see. Robin Westman was employed for several months earlier this year by Rise, a chain of medical cannabis dispensaries in Minnesota. A spokesman for the chain's parent company, Green Thumb Industries, confirmed in a statement. Westman was not employed by Rise at the time of the Annunciation Church shooting. Rise is cooperating fully with law enforcement, the statement said, but the company declined to provide additional details about Westman. We're deeply saddened by the tragic events that occurred today in Minnesota. Our deepest condolences go out to the victim, their families, and the entire community impacted. Nick Peterson, spokesman for Children's Minnesota, released the following. 7 children between the ages of 9 and 16 were admitted to the hospital for care. 1 patient has been discharged. In a statement to social media Wednesday, school staff asked for prayers and praised the reaction of the first responders. Danielle Gunter, mother of an 8th grade boy who survived being shot, said in a statement Wednesday afternoon to news media that we feel the pain, the anger, the confusion, and the searing reality that our lives will never be the same. Yet we still have our child. Gunter praised the police who raced into danger for others, for us. We thank them all. Our son shared with us that an MPD officer really helped him. He said the officer rendered aid, hugged him, reassured him, and prayed with him before getting into the ambulance. She called on leaders in the community to place armed security at schools to prevent another tragedy like this. There is no higher calling than keeping kids safe, and it starts with protecting them from evil in this world. About a decade ago, I would have been like, teachers should have mandatory, like, gun training. Teachers should be carrying in order to defend the children that are in their ward while they're at school. But seeing how completely overtaken by, like, Marxism a lot of teachers have been, I would not trust the majority of teachers to handle a firearm. And so I no longer think that that is a viable thing to do. I don't know how viable having armed security is, but maybe we should unironically bring back children learning at shooting ranges, because that way they can learn how to handle a firearm, they can learn to respect it and not treat it as a toy. I don't know, I feel like that would be a much better thing, get people acquainted with it, and get teenagers used to shooting it, get them understanding how they work. 2017 Annunciation yearbook showed that Robin Westman, who went by Robert at the time, attended the school for at least 1 year. And this goes back in time. The way they acted was nothing short of heroic, talking about the police. Governor Tim Walz said that on the first days of school, instead of joy and curiosity, they were met with evil and horror and death. We often say this is unspeakable tragedy. There are no words. There shouldn't be words. FBI Director Kash Patel said his agency is investigating the act as domestic terrorism and hate crime. Pope Leo, we read about the message earlier. I don't think there's anything necessarily new in this write-up. Oh yeah, here's the fucking Reddit thing that I remember seeing on Twitter. The base to take the fight to their kids so they can feel what it's like to be attacked for your identity. Elect a fascist, your kids are legitimate targets. Republicans are enemies of humanity, and thinning the herd is our duty. More dead Christians, LOL. To me, it seems like if you elect a really bad guy that's cruel to people and weaponize his cruelness and horrific behavior against your neighbors, some of those are horrible, and it gets cut off. Maybe the Christo-fascist parents will think twice before supporting an admin that kills Palestinian children. Conservatives want to kill all trans, shouldn't be surprised when we fight back. Heroic, they want to kill our kids, we're going to fight back. This is Republicans' fault for trying to genocide us. Am I supposed to feel bad that rich Christian kids are gone? Good riddance. The trans community will not die lying down without a fight. I hope the guns are okay. Future religious extremists dying isn't a bad thing. It's hard to believe this could happen at a Catholic mass, Hart told NBC News. What's hard to believe? Is it because you thought your imaginary sky daddy would protect you from the decisions the politicians you elect make? It's not hard to believe at all. You just wish your made-up bullshit worked instead of actually doing anything about it. Once again, they don't really need any help looking like villains. Gonna be truly fucking honest here. Someone posted this. I wish more people would read the entire thread because it's one of the best examples I've seen of real-time archiving I've seen on the forums in a long time. Yeah, this is like the purpose, right? Like, fucking archive all of this shit before it gets memory holed and scrubbed from the internet by people who don't want you knowing about what's going on. Happened at a church, must have been God's will. I thought it was a good joke. Fuck off, men, people died. Define people. I see you not using the right-wing term version of it because they celebrate when LGBTQ+ minorities and others die. What? What are they talking about? Where is this celebration? Where is your bleeding heart for all the children who die every minute around the world from starvation? Go back to your hole in the ground. More good news, ICE is planning to hire them at 18 years old, give them a badge, gun, government car to drive real fast in and cause accidents intentionally, and the ability to carry machine guns, rifles, and short-barrel shotguns in addition to other military hand-me-downs like APVs, drones, and surveillance equipment that violates privacy. What could possibly go wrong? More like that wall is being used to keep people in the US, not out. This is your reminder that ICE is looking to hire more agents to deport illegals. So if it's been a dream of yours to get them the fuck out, go apply at ICE. He looks like the result of the first relationship between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalitis. What the hell? This was another update here. Sarah Edgar's eyes filled with tears as she held her young daughter close in the gymnasium at the Academy of Holy Angels where one of Wednesday night's vigils was being held. Her husband held her 4-year-old son, Enoch. I know that's a biblical name, but man, don't name your son Enoch. That's just like, he's gonna be a target for bullying, man. Who attends Annunciation Church. Edgar said she was running late to drop off Enoch on Wednesday morning. When she arrived, another mom told her a shooting was happening right now. She immediately turned around and was barricaded by dozens of EMS vehicles and more than 60 police cars. I knew something wasn't right, she said. Community members attending the vigil range from young children to high school students, families, and older adults, including priests, nuns, and rabbis. Gun safety groups Protect Minnesota and Moms Demand Action organized an 8 p.m. vigil at Lyndhurst Park in Minneapolis. Shortly before the event started, children were playing basketball and rolling their bicycles through the park. This is, I'm at Lyndhurst Park in Minneapolis, where residents will gather to mourn the 2 children who died and many more who were injured. Attendees had laid flowers at home base. Libby Holden, a volunteer organizer with the Minnesota chapter of Moms Demand Action, said after becoming a parent to twins, every shooting felt different. It felt more immediate and it felt more traumatic. To keep her kids safe, Holden said, she bought the best car seats and enrolled them in swimming lessons. But I really felt powerless to stop gun violence, she added. So she decided to volunteer with the advocacy group. Holden chose to send her children to private school partly because of the sense of safety associated with the institution. But today's shooting and many other shootings, they all show that no child in America is safe from gun violence. That resources for private school or parental involvement, those can't buy your way into security. Maggie Emery, executive director of Protect Minnesota, said she hopes the vigil is a first step in collective action to prevent a similar event in the future. Although it is not a space for specific calls for advocacy, organizers expect public officials such as Senator Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Jacob Frey to appear. Aside from accurately putting people who are mentally disturbed in mental institutions, there's not really any way to prevent these things. Like, you just have to report on the signs of a mentally disturbed individual. And sometimes they are unfortunately very good at hiding it. Criminals don't care about gun laws. They don't. They don't. More than 600 people attended the vigil at the Academy of Holy Angels on Wednesday evening to mourn the Annunciation students who were killed in the morning shooting and pray for those injured. Louise Fowler, a vigil attendee and member of Annunciation Church since 1987, said she knew Mary Grace Westman, Robin Westman's mother, when she worked at the church, and by extension, Robin. The family worked hard with this child who had a lot of problems, she said of Robin. Know that Robin Westman's educational background, dude looks like a literal fucking clown. Like, holy shit. 2017 yearbook photo shows Robin Westman as an 8th grader at Annunciation Catholic School. Westman attended high school at Minnesota Transitions Charter from August 28, 2017 through October 16, 2017. School official did not provide any other information beyond confirming the dates. Westman attended St. Thomas's Academy. In 2021, Westman graduated from the Southwest High School in Minneapolis. 3 children remain at Children's Minnesota. According to the hospital, 4 patients have been discharged. Under state law, any purchaser of a firearm is subject to a federal background check, but not necessarily a permit. You need a permit to purchase a handgun, but not most shotguns or rifles. Certain shotguns, rifles, or pistol-type firearms are classified as semi-automatic military-style assault weapons under state statute and require a permit to purchase. That is really a really silly designation. Semi-automatic military-style assault weapons. A 70-year-old retired teacher who declined to be identified said he lived next door to Westman near the intersection of West 47th Street and York Avenue for several years before the Westmans moved out in 2021. He said Westman was attending Southwest High School and would walk by his house. Westman could often be seen rollerblading on the sidewalk and in the alley. We didn't talk to him. We saw him going to the school and coming back. I was taught to protect my students and accept everybody. It really doesn't matter the gender issue. All 10 survivors remained at HCMC on Wednesday, according to media relations. This is just back in time. All right, so that's about everything from that update. Again, I can't tell if this is a deranged individual or a troll. If the reports are accurate that the Minnesota church shooter is transgender, please, my request to my fellow journalists, do not refer to her as him. Fuck you, buddy. Literally impossible to tell the difference between someone trolling and someone who's just deranged in current year. Jen Psaki is sobbing on live TV because Christians offered prayer to the families. She says that recognizing the suspect as transgender weaponizes a community. They want your guns. They really don't care about any of the children.
And all they should be hoping to do is have someone to sit with at lunch or someone to play with on the playground. And they should be waiting to hear an update when they get home. And that is not what these parents at the school experience today. Sorry, this is a tough one. Having your child killed while they are sitting in a pew for a morning prayer service is not what any parent should have to worry about. And I have felt a mixture of anger and a lot of anger and emotional exhaustion about this today, as I'm sure many of you have, because we have been here so many times. And yet again, like clockwork, half the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it.
That's a
Please
nice,
join me in praying
humane
for
response.
everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the thoughts and prayers, and then comes the attempt to shift the focus. This is what always happens. You're going to start seeing narratives. You're already seeing them. They're already out there about how the shooter was trans. You're going to see narratives about how the shooter appeared to be anti-Trump and anti-Semitic.
But those are all true things. Don't believe the facts of the matter. Just rally for gun grabbing. What the fuck?
And clearly was in the midst of a mental health crisis. There's no question about that. But here's the thing. There are trans people all over the world. There are anti-Semitic people, unfortunately, all over the world. And people filled with plenty of political hate all over the world. And mental health issues are not unique to the United States. And yes, we should do more to address them. But it's also an issue.
But if you keep ignoring the heights of radicalization in certain circles, I know noticing that white supremacy isn't actually the most dangerous thing right now, because like anyone who gets outed as a white supremacist literally gets depersoned and made fun of and disregarded by everyone because they're rational, right? Like it's just a rational thing to do. Like, oh, you fucking believe in a supremacy thing? Fuck you, buddy, get out, right? Nobody defends those people. But whenever it's someone else that commits a shooting, it's like, oh, well, we can't talk about the levels of violence and the glorification of violence and the radicalization that happens in those other spheres, right? Like, I don't understand why you can't point those things out.
All over the world. But this is the only country where shootings like this one happen this often. The United States not only has the highest rate of gun violence of any country in the world, it's become a leading cause of death for young people and teenagers in this country. That should make everybody angry.
If I speak about the statistics, I will be banned. If you look at the statistics, America's actually much safer. If I speak, statistics are haram, not allowed.
Weaponizing the shooter's identity is meant to distract from what matters. That is what they are doing, trying to distract from what matters.
It's not really a distraction. Like when you have someone who's, a crazy incel, you read their manifesto. When you have someone who is like a crazy supremacist in any direction, you read their manifesto. You learn about the depths of craziness that these people have gone through. And I think it's important to learn about that instead of just be like, oh, it don't matter.
Here's what matters. Today's shooter bought the rifle, handgun, and shotgun they used to do what they did today legally. We live in a country with more guns than people, where there are not universal background checks.
Well, once again, you do need a background check to purchase a firearm, but the problem here is that for some reason, these people aren't treated like they have a mental condition when they do. So, I don't know, man. We're just now getting to the end of the 15-year-long dark period we've been in. So it's probably going to be quite a bit longer before people are having the will to have that conversation.
There are not bans on assault weapons, and it is far too easy to buy a gun. It's the guns, everyone. It's not really a secret. There are a lot of things to feel outraged about right now, and I really try.
Yeah, no, this woman's just crazy. Guns don't pull their own triggers. They really don't. It's really weird how they always try to make it like the guns are the ones causing the violence, and it's like, no, a crazy person will do the crazy thing with whatever weapons they have available. We have background checks in place to make sure that certain people don't have access to firearms. But if you preclude certain people from being called mentally ill, then they'll pass those background checks. Like, what do you expect to happen? Suspected shooter legally purchased rifle, pistol, and shotgun. Local politicians call for action. Robin Westman used a legally purchased rifle, pistol, and shotgun for the siege on a Minneapolis Catholic church Wednesday morning, killing 2 children sitting in pews on the 3rd day of school and injuring 17 other people before dying by suicide in the back of the church. Westman had legally purchased all 3 weapons recently, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said during a Wednesday news conference. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives was on the scene Wednesday at Annunciation Church. ATF spokeswoman Ashley Sherrill told the Star Tribune the agency did an expedited trace of the weapon's purchase history, which was completed by Wednesday afternoon and turned over to investigators. A notebook entry in English, but using Cyrillic letters on a YouTube account, believed to be the shooter's, referenced how shockingly easy it was to buy a gun from a pawn shop. Under Minnesota law, any purchaser of a firearm is subject to a federal background check, but not necessarily a permit. You need a permit to purchase a handgun, but not most shotguns or rifles. Certain shotguns, rifles, or pistol-style firearms are classified as semi-automatic military-style assault weapons under state statute and require a permit to purchase. Most traditional hunting firearms don't require a permit to purchase. You need to be 21 to buy a handgun in Minnesota and 18 to purchase all other guns. Westman was 23. There is no limit to how many firearms one person may own in Minnesota. What an odd thing to say. There shouldn't be a limit on how many firearms you can own anywhere. Westman would have needed a permit to purchase the handgun and semi-automatic military rifle. Applying for such a permit takes more time than an actual in-store purchase and includes a background check. The shotgun purchase also would have required a background check, but that can be completed while the customer waits. So all of the background checks that we want done were done, said Rob Dorr, Senior Vice President of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus and a guns right advocate. Westman had no criminal record, according to O'Hara, and a search of criminal court records. Dorr reviewed a YouTube video believed to be posted by Westman showing various guns and ammunition and identified the weapons. We already read that part earlier. As is often the case after a mass shooting in America, Democrats Wednesday began calling for stricter gun laws, although there were few specifics. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said Wednesday that more than thoughts and prayers were needed. Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. Those kids were praying. It was the first week of school. 13-member Minneapolis City Council released a statement calling for changes to laws, saying such tragedies have become far too common. Every level of government must act to ensure that these preventable tragedies never happen again. We're committed to working with local, state, and federal government and all other partners to pass meaningful changes to our laws that will make our community safer. I just want to point out that Minnesota is slowly becoming a caliphate state, and if you start outlawing firearms in a state that is filling with people who will want to kill you, I don't see that working out very well. Euros unable to survive 90-degree weather, pretty much. They keep calling it a military rifle, like it means something. Governor Tim Walz said after the TV cameras are gone, Minnesotans will work to prevent any future unthinkable tragedies that are all too common. Keep us in your thoughts and prayers, but also keep us in the thoughts for action, Walz said during a news conference. Dorr said that instead of chasing our tails when we're trying to figure out what type of law could have prevented this, investigators should look at the signs that preceded the shootings. Minnesota constantly earns high ratings by gun control groups, he noted, and last year a red flag law went into effect allowing family members, roommates, partners, and law enforcement to petition judges to remove guns from people they fear are a danger to themselves or others. So they already have really strict gun laws, and that didn't prevent the shooting. Wouldn't logic dictate that even with all of your strict gun laws and it didn't prevent a shooting, it's not that there aren't enough gun laws, it's that they don't work. That law, along with expanded background checks for transfers and increased penalties for machine gun ownership, went into effect in 2023 after Democrats passed them while in control of the legislature and governor's office. But that's interesting. It's interesting when they say the background checks and how everything was done that they wanted to be done. Because there was this, police visited the Minneapolis shooting suspect's home at least twice when he was a teen, but he had no criminal record and all weapons were lawfully purchased. Unironically, he was on our radar, and they did nothing. Police visited his home at least 2 times when he was a teenager, records show. More than 7 years before Robin Westman opened fire on a Catholic school as Mass was underway, killing 2 children and injuring 17 more worshippers, police were called to a townhouse in the Twin Cities suburb where he lived with his mother. The heavily redacted police report NBC News obtained from the police department in Eagan, Minnesota, is dated January 26, 2018, and it includes a 2-word description explaining why an officer was dispatched to that address: mental health. It also includes a brief synopsis that reads, assisted Mendota Heights with a check welfare of a juvenile. Mendota Heights is another Twin Cities suburb. The name of that juvenile and what exactly prompted police to be summoned to the 3-bedroom home on Crane Creek Lane were blacked out in the report. Well, that's not very helpful now, is it? 2 years before the mental health call, police responded to a report of a criminal offense at the residence, according to a police report, but beyond noting that the case was closed, the report blacks out all the details describing the event. Investigators probing Wednesday's deadly mass shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis continue to search for a clear motive to explain why Westman, 23, committed the act of terror. Westman, who died by suicide after the shooting, was a trans woman and had been a student at Annunciation. His mother, Mary Grace Westman, had once worked at the school. Minnesota has a red flag law that went into effect in January 2024, allowing family members and others to petition the courts to have guns removed from a person they believe poses a threat to themselves or the community. The state passed a law in 2023 requiring gun buyers to pass universal background checks and to obtain permits for pistols or semi-automatic military-style assault weapons. It does not appear any alarms were sounded as Westman amassed an arsenal that included the rifle, the pistol, and the shotgun used in the attack on the church. Minnesota Police Chief Brian Herrera said Thursday that authorities do not have any information indicating that Westman suffered from mental illness. Come on. Other than a traffic ticket, he did not have a police record. There is nothing in the investigation so far that would lead us to believe that anything was missed. The shooter, he said, was able to lawfully purchase these weapons. Herrera added that Westman's family had been cooperating with investigators, but they have not yet located his mother, who lives in another state. Records show her residence as being in Florida. Ryan Gary, an attorney for Mary Grace Westman, told NBC News he did not have a comment at this time. The FBI's special agent in charge in Minneapolis, Alvin Winston Sr., said the agency had not had any previous contact with the shooter. So he was only on local police radar, not FBI radar. We did a check of all our holdings, the FBI holdings, and he was not in our holdings prior to this incident, so we didn't have anything on him at the time. In the aftermath of the shooting, FBI Director Kash Patel called the attack an act of domestic terrorism motivated by a hate-filled ideology. Police are reviewing the online videos in which the shooter scrawled racial slurs, a homophobic slur, anti-Semitic messages, a call for President Donald Trump's death, and references to the Holocaust and the Catholic Church. In addition, the video showed the suspect flipping through the pages of a journal written in English, but using the Cyrillic alphabet, at times uttering koshmar, which is the Russian word for nightmare. The shooter discusses the mechanics of mass school shootings and suicide. A person who went to Minneapolis Southwest High School with the shooter and described him as a bit of a strange person with a dark sense of humor said she never heard Westman make any jokes about shootings or guns, but she often mumbled in what the person believed was Russian, said the former classmate, who asked not to be identified for privacy reasons. People would ask what he was saying, and he would just tell them, "Oh, nothing," the person recalled. That's like when I would say swear words as a child, and my dad would be like, "What did you just say?" And I'd be like, "Nothing." Like, obviously, he wasn't dumb enough to believe me, but it was enough that I knew I had done something wrong. Yesterday's events were very shocking to everyone who knew him in school and the entire Minneapolis community. There's no fucking way you're telling me this, like, Aurora shooter lookalike has shocked people by doing this. There's no way. Many people do and say strange things in their teenage years, so many people just saw it as him trying to be edgy or funny. It's very hard to see the videos of what he planned and carried out. I was never very close with him, but this is still very heavy on my heart. Westman said in the journal that he began pondering mass murder in the 7th grade. In particular, he was fixated on the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Connecticut in 2012. He writes that he has a history of making threats about violence. In another part of the journal, he writes about how easy it would be to buy a gun and mentions that he has dropped warning signs to people asking for help. Clearly, nobody understood them. Westman's parents, who are divorced, have yet to make a public statement about the shooting. Neither could be reached for comment. Westman was 11 when his mother and his father, James Westman, divorced in 2013. At the time, he and his brother and sister lived with their parents in Hastings, another Twin Cities suburb. Police were called to that residence at least 4 times from 2003 to 2016, including once for a welfare check for an adult female, a sibling who was threatening suicide in 2014. I wonder why the sister was threatening that. Interesting. I wish we could get these police reports without the redactions to find out exactly what was going on. Also in 2014, police responded to a report of vandalism at the home. Officers saw several offensive words and pictures written on windows of the garage and the father's car. I wonder if this is somebody who hated the feds or just the crazy son doing crazy things. Sounds like there was something seriously wrong. You know, when I'm thinking about a crazy guy like this who is claiming to be transgender but is very obviously not, and then they're saying that there was a welfare check for an adult female, a sibling in the house threatening suicide, I'm wondering if that sibling was a victim, as family members usually are, of having like their clothes and belongings being stolen so this guy could indulge in his fetishistic behavior. Another call in 2010 related to a juvenile problem with a 17-year-old daughter who was out of control, but nothing in the records indicates that those incidents involved the shooter. When the shooter was living in Eagan, he was still using his birth name. He did not become Robin M. Westman until age 17, when records show the name change application was granted in January 2020 in Dakota County, Minnesota. While Westman's parents signed off on the name change, his mother expressed conflicted feelings about her child's gender identity, said a former school employee who was asked what they remembered about the family. The former school employee spoke to NBC News on the condition of anonymity to speak freely about family issues. That's interesting. The mother had conflicted feelings. She said, "I don't know how I feel about this," the ex-employee said. "I think she was struggling with her Catholic faith. She didn't know how she felt, but it weighed heavily on her." The ex-employee also remembered that Westman was often sent to the principal's office for disruptive behavior and did not seem to have any friends. Westman's mother expressed concern about her child's behavior and social issues, the ex-employee said. Faced with punishment from school administrators, Westman appeared alternately nervous and nonchalant, the former employee said. Correction. A previous version of this article used the wrong pronouns for the shooter. He used female pronouns. Yeah, I've been having to correct him the whole time, because fuck this weirdo. Oh, for fuck's sake. Imagine actually putting that in there. Holy shit. Emergency dispatch audio reveals what happened when first responders were called to a Minneapolis school after police say a lone shooter opened fire on a crowd of people as they prayed inside the church.
Minneapolis has a possible active shooter, 509 West 54th Street, Minneapolis.
The first calls came in around 8:30 in the morning.
All units, you are heading to Minneapolis, mutual aid, on a shooting.
An active shooter in South Minneapolis at the Annunciation Church and School.
We first received a page that we were going to have a mass casualty incident at 8:46 a.m.
First responders from all over the region rushing to the scene.
Any troopers arriving, we just need medical. Bring all the guys that you have.
Dispatch audio reveals the scope of the emergency response and the casualties after police say the shooter opened fire through a church window.
We've got at least 4 criticals in the inside, the rest outside of the church.
This kind of reminds me, right? I mean, again, you can't really rationalize the actions of an insane individual, but it reminds me of the, was it Buffalo in New York? The Buffalo, like, supermarket shooting? Where that person was, like, scrawling crazy, like, white supremacist anti-government stuff, and they went past, like, multiple, like, black businesses and churches and government buildings, and then decided to shoot up a supermarket instead. It's like, why the fuck, what the fuck are you doing? And it's kind of similar here, where it's like this person had to drive past how many government buildings, and they decided to, like, go to a church. I just can't explain crazy.
Couple DOAs, but at least 20 other patients.
2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews.
We have 2 gunshot wounds.
Yeah, his mother used to work at the school, but it's like, if you're mad at your mom, like, why are you going to the church, right? Like, his mom's not even in the same state anymore.
2 patients with gunshot wounds to their head in front. There's also a critical patient in the rear of the church.
Authorities say at least 17 victims were injured, most of them children.
Transporting 1 10-year-old male, red trauma, gunshot wounds to the head.
Oh, dude.
Children. He is third vitally stable, possibly was just grazed.
You're dealing with gunshot wound injuries from apparently a high-velocity weapon.
And within minutes of arriving on scene,
We believe he took his own life in the parking lot.
emergency medical teams confirming that the lone shooter was dead.
One suspect with a gunshot wound to the head, has a rifle and shotgun. He's down right now.
Marking an end to the violent attack in South Minneapolis. For the Fox 9 investigators, Nathan O'Neill.
Good lord. This is just like, I don't know. The human brain wants to try and, like, rationalize things, but there's just no rationalizing someone who's fucking crazy like this. Another Reddit post. I worked with the shooter until just a few weeks ago. In this case, I'm at a complete loss for what could have been done. He was so nice and normal. Never acted weird, just a friendly kid. Someone responded, the shooter identified as a she. She changed her name and sex in 2020. Maybe you misgendering her contributed. Man, if misgendering turned you into, like, a psychopathic mass spree killer, do you have any idea how many women would be spree killers from our time in the early internet always being called men? Are you kidding me? There would be so many more female shooters than males, man. W Place has just been a fucking nightmare this year, I guess, but apparently on W Place they blacked out the entire area of the church. That's wild that anyone would have, like, the brain connection to be like, you know what? A shooting just happened. Let's also remove the place the shooting happened at on W Place. Like, what? Jesus fucking Christ. Actual brain damage. Malicious brain damage. Brendan Herrera did release a short video in response to having been named by the fucking crazy bastard. And again, I don't think this happened to like Demolition Ranch before. This happened to PewDiePie before. I mean, the guy that went to like that rally recently didn't shoot anyone, thank fuck, but like Pippa was on his gun. He mentioned like me on his social media. I believe that we're going to see a lot more crazy deranged individuals naming random content creators just because their goal isn't to make sense or to actually be a charge for any sort of belief they hold. They just want to create strife and chaos. And so it's really unfortunate that people like Brandon here are going to have to deal with any kind of fallout because they had nothing to fucking do with it. And especially because Brandon is going into politics, I'm sure there are going to be people who try to use this against him.
This video is going to be a departure from the normal educational or funny content you're used to, because I have to address a very serious topic. I wasn't going to talk about this originally because I didn't really want to give any more attention to this topic than there needed to be. But after learning more about the situation and processing some things, I thought it was important that I speak up in my own words and clear some things up definitively. I will say that I've been doing YouTube for over 10 years now, and this is the first thing in my entire career that, speaking candidly, has kind of fucked me up. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, let me catch you up. On August 27th, at time of recording less than a day ago, a deranged, biologically male nutjob tried to go end the lives of innocent children at a Catholic school mass. This is one of the most heinous and indefensible acts I can think of. Killing innocent children at their place of worship. Mm-hmm. He did end up taking the lives of a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, as well as injuring 17 others, predominantly, again, mostly innocent children. This is obviously horrific and a clearly targeted hate crime, but the reason I'm coming to you in this video is that I was specifically mentioned by name in the psychotic rambling.
And as much as I think shooters are going to do this to try and create as much chaos as possible, and this person was obviously very fucking deranged, I think it's obvious like where their radicalization came from. And if they were online in any capacity to know who Brandon was, they probably knew that he announced running and that he is obviously not on the progressive side. So it seems like this was definitely a direct trying to damage his attempt at a goal here.
That the shooter released before he went out to go do what he did. He specifically mentions me by full name several times, including a push to vote for Brandon for president. When I first found out about this, I did not want to believe that it was real. And then I listened to the video, and when I heard it with my own 2 ears, I got fucking sick to my stomach. I'm gonna go ahead and say it now, and I would like to think this goes without saying, but again, I wanna leave zero fucking wiggle room for interpretation. I condemn every part of this to the deepest extent of my fucking soul. It is unreal to think about this level of evil being carried out by somebody who even knows my fucking name. He goes on to say that apparently we met at SHOT Show in Las Vegas, and that...
Which, I don't remember if it was him or Donut, but one of them did put out a tweet saying that they looked up the people who went to that SHOT event, and this psychopathic shooter guy had never gone. So it was just complete lies. It was just complete lies trying to associate someone that they had no business associating with this horrible thing that they did because they're trying to cause damage to someone else.
We talked and that we agreed on a lot of things, which I want to make abundantly clear right out the gate. I do not believe that that happened. Now, if you're unfamiliar, SHOT Show is one of the biggest weapons conventions in the world. It's industry only. It's not something the average
Fat
person
Electrician
can
was
really
the first one to mention the
Like,
SHOT thing.
It's not as easy as just like showing up and buying tickets. Like, it's not a gun show. It's an industry trade show, and every year me and my friends will do like a meet and greet or something like that at booths of companies that we work with. Fans from the industry who are already there at SHOT Show come up and take pictures. It's very normal, and for the most part, the community is incredibly respectful. I meet hundreds, if not thousands, of people there every year, and I have no control over who these people are. But I can legitimately put my hand on a Bible and say, I have zero recollection of ever meeting this creep. I asked my friends who were also there, and they had no recollection. And believe me, this is the kind of person that would stand out at SHOT Show.
Yep.
NSSF, the organization that runs SHOT Show, has actually released a statement as well, saying that they have no record of this person ever having attended SHOT Show. So right out the gate, the evidence points to this claim of having met and talked with me is likely made up. But ultimately, I can't prove that he met me. I also can't prove that he didn't. But God's honest truth is I have no memory of this person.
And it's really a shame that he has to address any of this at all. I know he has to, because it's like, if he doesn't, people are going to use it against him even more than they're already probably going to try. And it's just like, oh fuck, man. I hate people who do terroristic things, dude.
One thing's for sure is I don't believe for a fucking moment there's a lot that me and this fucking psycho would agree on.
100%.
He goes on to write a bunch of stuff about like killing Trump and mentions iDubbbz and Ethan Klein indirectly, bands that he liked, shit like that. And I obviously don't think they have anything to do with this either. It reminds me a lot of that Christchurch shooting where the shooter said subscribe to PewDiePie before, on his stream before going out and targeting that mosque. I remember feeling really bad for Tues when that all went down, and I never thought in a million years it would happen to me.
Well, yeah, of course, because like the guy probably didn't even watch PewDiePie. He just knew him as like a giant YouTuber and wanted to cause more chaos than he was already doing.
But here we are. Now, there's all sorts of theories on the internet. One of them is that this was somebody who was clearly left-leaning, who was attempting to slander me, intentionally damage my reputation, but to be honest, there's no fucking way to tell. You also may have noticed I have not said this fucker's name in this entire video. I've already made it a personal point. I have not said that name, and I will never say that fucking name. I refuse to make these pieces of shit famous, and I really wish the media would follow suit. And on that note, that's actually the last of the attention I'm going to be giving to this deranged piece of shit's words.
I mean, I could understand that, but it becomes difficult to talk about the situation if you don't, like, use a kind of name at some point. I try to just devalue him into, like, a crazed fucking lunatic. But when you're reading, like, news articles and stuff, it can be difficult if I were to just, like, remove the name entirely to understand who's being talked about in which context occasionally.
Because I have something far more important to talk about.
Oh.
Which is how we can, together, help the people that he hurt. I've seen firsthand how communities can be rocked by something like this, and I've already personally committed to helping, and I'm hoping that I can help leverage my audience, you guys, so that together we can be a force for good. To help the families, the school, and everybody affected. Because at the end of the day, I believe that you all out there watching this video are good. I believe that we're a force for good. And I invite you to join me in not letting the actions of some deranged psycho stop us from doing good.
True.
I'm working with some people in law enforcement right now at time of recording to figure out the best places that we can help support these communities to where the help and the funds that we send them actually go to the places they need to go. So when I figure that out, links will be in the description, and that is where I will be personally donating as well. Aside from the physical, tangible, or financial help, I also recommend you keep these people in your prayers. And if that's not your thing, at least just keep them in mind or reach out and let the community know that you support them. I wish we were talking about anything else today, but I take some solace in the fact that despite this terrible tragedy, we're able to use this as an opportunity to do good and try to help those who really need it right now. So that's it. I just wanted to clarify those things, make sure there was no room for interpretation. I love you all.
It's a good response, but unfortunate it has to be made at all. Minneapolis school shooter confessed he was tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. Wow! Wow, I'm so shocked! Transgender mass shooter confessed that he was tired of being trans and wished he never brainwashed himself. Hey, they're using the correct pronouns. In a manifesto posted online before he slaughtered 2 children and wounded 18 more at a Minneapolis church. In a twisted handwritten journal he shared on YouTube before the massacre, much of which is encrypted in a homespun code of Russian Cyrillic script and English words, Westman groaned about his long hair and his decision to transition. I only keep the long hair because it's pretty much my last shred of being trans. I'm tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself, he wrote. Fucking Habsburg looking ass. I can't cut my hair now as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. What does he mean by this? It just always gets in my way. I'll probably chop it on the day of the attack. Westman, 23, later wrote that he regretted being trans and just wished he were a girl. I regret being trans. I wish I was a girl. I just know I cannot achieve that body with the technology we have today. I also can't afford that. I cannot achieve that body. So he wanted to be an attractive girl. It's not enough to just transition. You have to be attractive. It's a fetish. The unhinged shooter also expressed feelings of self-loathing. I like feeling sexy and cute, but my face never matches how I feel. I hate my face. Maybe that's why I like furries so much. AGP! You can give yourself a new body and face. I want to be that blackface mask on Beyonce's body. Please do not skin Beyonce. Westman opened fire at the Annunciation Catholic Church in school Wednesday morning while students were praying at Mass, killing 2 kids and wounding 18 others before taking his own life. Westman applied to change his birth name from Robert to Robin in Dakota County, Minnesota when he was 17, according to court documents. Name change was granted in 2020. The petition noted that Westman identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification. Once again, they spent how many years going, it's okay that we identify as a woman because that's different from female. It's different. It's not biological. You can't just identify as female now, all right? Okay, like this collective dark age gaslighting, it's so tiresome. 5 years later, he seemed to have shrunk away from his new identity, scribbling on another page of the notebook. I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I guess sometimes I really like it. I know I'm not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man. You're just a gay twink, man. You're just a gay twink. And that's okay. That's okay if you're a gay twink, buddy. Like, holy fuck. The cowardly killings, coupled with the revelation that Westman identified as transgender, reignited a hot-button debate as Minneapolis lefty mayor Jacob Frey wagged his finger at news outlets for even reporting it. I've heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community, Frey told reporters Wednesday. Anybody who's using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. The Annunciation attack was the second elementary school shooting perpetrated by a trans person in the last 2 years. I think that anyone who targets children, regardless of their identity or their beliefs, is just an absolute monster. Audrey Hale, a trans woman, murdered 3 children and 3 staffers in a shooting at Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee in March 2023. Similar to Westman, Hale left behind a rambling manifesto hinting at severe depression and a desire to take her own life in an act of violence, targeting innocent victims. And it was crazy hard to get the manifesto out of this one. Like, the parents didn't want it released, the school didn't want it released. It's like, it was this weird, like, circle jerk of everyone like, no, just close your eyes and don't pay attention. We don't need to read any of why this person was fucked up and crazy. It's actually crazy. In the wake of Wednesday's school shooting, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. announced a probe by the National Institutes of Health to determine whether drugs Westman was taking during his transition could have played a role in his depraved violence. We're launching studies into their potential contribution, he said in a response to a question on Fox News, Fox and Friends, about Hale. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer on Thursday revealed exclusively to the Post, wait, why does it say about Hale? I think they might have used the wrong name there, because I think this is about the current Westman shooter and not Audrey Hale. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer on Thursday revealed exclusively to the Post that he was calling for the state to repeal its trans refuge law, a 2023 piece of legislation signed by Democratic Governor Tim Walz, which blocks out-of-state subpoenas, arrest warrants, and extradition requests.
Spicy cat raid.
For those who travel to the state for sex change surgeries or hormone treatments. If he didn't upload on YouTube, we might never get to know what was inside that manifesto. No, I agree with you. I'm glad that people archived that as quickly as they did. Because like when I woke up and I saw that this was happening, it was basically a couple of hours between, you know, people in a group chat of mine who were like, oh shit, these YouTube videos, we think this is his manifesto, and then YouTube just deleting everything. It's fucked up that we don't know and have to study it years after of giving it to kids. Yeah, it is a little fucked up. It's also a little fucked up that there's a trans refuge law that blocks subpoenas and arrest warrants for people who go to Minnesota for sex change surgeries and hormones. That's wild. How do you even pass something like that? That's crazy. We've got to respect everyone, we got to have compassion for everyone, but we got to understand that we've got some serious mental health issues that are being exacerbated by these types of messages by people like Tim Walz and everybody who supported that law, said the House Majority Whip, whose district covers many of the Twin Cities' outer northern and western suburbs. True. Numerous studies point to a link between transgenderism and mental illness. The Trevor Project's 2024 U.S. National Survey on the Mental Health of LGBTQ+ young people reported that 39% of LGBTQ+ young people seriously considered suicide in the last year, including a whopping 46% of transgender and non-binary youths. Despite these links and incidents, however, a critical nationwide debate about the highly controversial topic has never occurred. Well, yeah, because we're not allowed to talk about it. If you talk about it, you're a fucking bigot, transphobe, you know? Westman's chilling writings revealed his violent fantasies about killing children, including wanting to be the scary, horrible monster standing over those powerless kids. He also glorifies the Sandy Hook massacre, in which 20 school children were killed. Which, again, is a weird fucking thing to do. Why would you glorify someone killing children? They cannot fight back. They are defenseless. It's like the lowest rung of disturbing behavior you can do. There's not a link, it is mental illness. Yeah, that's also crazy, where they're just like, there might be a link between transgenderism and mental illness. And it's like, brother, dysphoria is a mental condition. What do you mean? Westman's videos, posted hours before the shootings, also saw the phrases "Kill Donald Trump" and "For the Children" scrawled on gun magazines. His notebook also showed how he had specifically targeted Annunciation Catholic Church and school, where he graduated from grade school in 2017. His mother, Mary Grace Westman, spent 5 years working as a secretary at the school until she retired in 2021. Westman started shooting through the church's stained glass windows with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol around 8:30 a.m. while school children and parents were praying. He bought the weapons legally, authorities confirmed. 2 students were killed where they sat in their pews, while 18 others were injured, some critically, police said. Why do they involve the public in their AGP fetish? It probably stems from the same reason. Well, no, I mean, I know why they involve the public in their fetish, but why do they involve random people when, like, they just clearly want to kill themselves? Like, what do they think they're accomplishing here? Right? Like, it does nothing. It does nothing. So we have Andy Ngo. Mary Westman, the mother of the Minneapolis trans mass shooter, who she helped transition as a minor, appears to have fled. Minneapolis police say they have not been able to make contact with her. I don't know if she fled, because that other article we read said that her residence is in Florida at this time. So it's possible she just lived out of state. Suspect's mother only follows 32 people on Instagram. The majority of them have locked their accounts, and there's a pattern for screenwriters and directors. Interesting. Interesting. So I have this article from Fox. Minneapolis church shooter's mother refuses to talk to police, obtains criminal defense attorney. Very weird. Kinda suspicious. The mother of the shooter who opened fire on a Minneapolis Catholic church Mass Wednesday is not cooperating with investigators as they try to determine what led to the tragic events that left 2 children dead and 18 others injured, including 15 children. Fox News learned the shooter's mother, Mary Grace Westman, has retained criminal defense attorney Ryan Gary. When asked why the mother obtained a criminal attorney, Gary told Fox she's completely distraught about the situation and has no culpability, but is seeking an attorney to deal with calls like this. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said dozens of interviews have been conducted with the shooter's relatives, friends, and associates, and those who witnessed the carnage unfold at Annunciation Catholic Church. I know we have not been successful in talking to the shooter's mother yet at this time, O'Hara said during a news conference Thursday, but there continue to be efforts made to get that done. Court documents show the shooter's mother applied for her son to legally change his name, writing in 2019, "Minor identifies as female and wants her name to reflect the identification." It is not clear why the shooter's mother is not cooperating with investigators. When asked by a reporter on Thursday if investigations had been in touch with the shooter's father, O'Hara initially said he could not confirm that. but the chief briefly had a side conversation with Drew Evans, the superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, who said his investigators had been in touch with the father. Ooh. Still, investigators have not yet said whether the shooter, identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, lived with his mother or father, noting there are 3 addresses associated with the individual. Ah, geez, man. Can't verify right now which residence he was staying at immediately prior to the shooting, but that's obviously something that will come out with the investigation as it continues. The chief noted that the shooter attended mass at the church while attending the school attached to the place of worship. The shooter's mother was an employee of the parish previously for some time, so obviously there's a connection between the shooter and this particular parish. Noted the manifesto and writings on the firearms displayed anti-Catholic and anti-religious references. Specifically, the shooter expressed hatred and violence toward Jewish people and wrote things like Israel must fall and free Palestine, and used explicit language related to the Holocaust, Patel said. Parents of children killed in the Annunciation Catholic School shooting speak out. 2 students killed in the Annunciation Catholic School mass shooting were an 8-year-old boy who loved to fish and cook, and a 10-year-old girl known for her laughter and kindness. Fletcher Merkel, 8, and Harper Moisky, 10, died when the shooter opened fire through the windows of the Minneapolis school's church on Wednesday morning. Their families confirmed Thursday. Fletcher urged parents to give your kids an extra hug as he remembered his son. Yesterday, a coward decided to take our 8-year-old son, Fletcher, away from us, Jesse Merkel said during remarks outside the school on Thursday, publicly identifying his son as one of the victims killed in the senseless act of violence, carried out by a 23-year-old former student at the school. Because of their actions, we will never be allowed to hold him, talk to him, play with him, and watch him grow into the wonderful young man he was on the path to becoming. Jesse Merkel said his son loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. The father added, "While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing. I pray that the other victim's family can find some semblance of the same." Harper's parents remembered her as a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. Our hearts are broken not only as parents, but also for Harper's sister, who adored her big sister and is grieving an unimaginable loss. Her parents, Michael Moisky and Jackie Flavin, said in a statement provided to ABC Minneapolis station KSTP, "As a family, we are shattered, and words cannot capture the depth of our pain." 18 other people, including 15 kids, were also injured in the shooting and are expected to survive. The victims' families praised the response to the mass shooting. Jesse Merkel said he's heard many stories of the swift and heroic actions of children and adults alike from inside the church. Without these people and their selfless actions, this could have been a tragedy of many magnitudes more. For these people, I'm thankful. That's like that one shooting, that one school shooting. I can't remember where it was, but like all the cops were too fucking afraid to go in the building. And like they even started barring parents from going in. And it's like, what the fuck are you even being paid for? Yeah, the Uvalde shooting. Thank you, chat. It's just like, what the fuck are you even being paid for if you're not going to do your goddamn job? Like, you are useless as a police officer if you are not going to go into an active shooting situation to try and subdue them. Actually insane. Harper's parents said they also grieve for our fellow Annunciation family in mourning and for those hurt, and that they're grateful for the staff and first responders who did so much for so many yesterday. Jesse Merkel asked that people give their children an extra hug and kiss today, and that his son is remembered for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Harper's parents said it's important that their daughter's memory fuels action while imploring for meaningful change to prevent a similar tragedy and work toward a safer, more compassionate world. A safer, more compassionate world. Like, I hope this woman, like, again, I feel for her loss, but I hope she's not trying to induce more gun restrictions. Because if you want a safer world is an armed world. The more good people who have the ability to defend themselves and others, the more these shootings will be taken out before they're able to become tragedies. No family should ever have to endure this kind of pain. We urge our leaders and communities to take meaningful steps to address gun violence and the mental health crisis in this country. Change is possible and it is necessary so that Harper's story does not become yet another in a long line of tragedies. We do need... mental health crisis has gone unaddressed for way too fucking long. The shooting occurred during a mass that marked the first week of school. We already know about the shooter. A motive remains under investigation. Police said they've not identified a specific trigger for why the children at the church were targeted. Investigators determined that Westman harbored a whole lot of hate towards a wide variety of people and groups of people, and also had a deranged obsession with previous mass shooters. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian Herrera told ABC News Live on Thursday. And please leave these people alone, leave them to grieve. Don't use ghouls to use them for your own purposes. Unfortunately, that is what happens every time, even if you don't want it to. How the hell can people look at the young lives lost and cheer for it? It's just so demonic. You have no mercy for anyone who would relish in the suffering and murder of children. Yep. The best way to understand school shootings these days is that they're content creation for the school shooter fan community. I'm not joking or trying to be funny. People want to conceive of them as ideological because it's difficult to process this level of misanthropic nihilism. If you're gonna tell me that it was actually about Jew gas, then you need to explain how this is ideologically connected to something I can't say. Anyone trying to tell you there is some kind of coherent ideology among the school shooter's various messages is wrong or lying with an agenda. There isn't. Any and every meme is in there. The person was just a transgressive nihilist. If they did it for anything, they did it to impress other people on the internet, school shooter interest groups, who have their own memes that are references to homages to previous school shooters. These memes were also present on the guy's weapon. I mean, once again, like I said earlier, it's very clear that this guy was just trying to do maximum damage to anyone possible. He didn't really have any coherent ideology. He was just scribbling shit and memes from, like, any side, right? But I think it's very easy, based on what he identified as, what he did, what he, not believed in, but, like, what he was trying to do with himself, is we could probably guess which kind of radicalizing circles he was in. So, Minneapolis school shooter went through a recent breakup before deadly attack on Catholic school. Minneapolis Catholic school shooter recently went through a breakup and was living with an older friend, according to one of several search warrants police have obtained in the wake of a deadly attack on Wednesday's morning mass. Westman most recently lived in an apartment in Richfield, according to his search warrant. But the killer's father told police that the 23-year-old had just gone through a breakup and was staying with a friend in nearby St. Louis Park. Police also searched Westman's father's house in Minneapolis, where they seized a tactical vest, 2 computer drives, and miscellaneous documents, according to their warrant. Westman had been identified as the one who opened fire Wednesday morning, killing 2 children ages 8 and 10 and injuring 18 other worshippers. Police found Westman died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, wearing black tactical gear and carrying at least 2 long guns, according to the warrant. The van Westman used in the attack belonged to James Westman, the killer's father. The elder Westman told police about the breakup. Westman was born Robert Paul Westman and underwent a legal name change in 2019. Minor child redacted identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, according to a court form filled out by a mother named Mary Grace Westman, the same name as a woman who police said worked at the Annunciation Catholic Church. The shooter also attended the church's attached Catholic school until 8th grade. Federal authorities reportedly visited a Florida condominium owned by Mary Grace Westman as part of the investigation into the mother of the shooter who opened fire during a Minneapolis Catholic Church mass on Wednesday. Still haven't actually heard anything from the mother, except her saying through her lawyer that she needs a lawyer. Deputies visited the same address a day earlier before the shooting for what police said was an unrelated welfare check involving a juvenile. Interesting how close that was. Contact was made with Mrs. Westman, who said the juvenile and the juvenile's mother had previously lived there and were no longer residing with her, the Collier County Sheriff's Office told Fox News Digital. Wait, okay, now I'm confused. Deputies visited Mother Westman's address, the mother of the shooter. There was a welfare check involving a juvenile. And then when they contacted Miss Westman, she said that the juvenile and the mother of said juvenile were previously living, I'm guessing with her, and were no longer residing there with her. Who was the juvenile and the mother that were living with the shooter's mother? What's going on with that? Officials noted it was unrelated to the shooter or shooter's family. Okay. The FBI declined to answer questions about activity in Florida. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian Herrera told reporters Thursday that investigators have not yet spoken with Westman, but are continuing efforts to reach her. Authorities confirmed she has not been cooperating with the ongoing investigation, which is weird. Ryan Gary, a lawyer for Mary Westman, told Fox News she is deeply distraught and not involved in the crime, but hired counsel to handle law enforcement and media inquiry. The killer also posted what police are referring to as manifestos online. It appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writing. Disturbing videos posted by a person using the name Robin Westman were deleted from YouTube after the shooting, showing handwritten pages of a notebook, weapons with messages painted on them, and commentary from whoever filmed them. Herrera added that all 3 firearms used in the attack had been purchased legally by Westman, who had no prior criminal record. Police in Eagan, Minnesota were part of a multiple department response to a mental health incident at a former address used by Westman in 2018, according to NBC News, which obtained a heavily redacted report on the matter. Eagan police did not immediately return a message seeking comment on the incident. Mendota Heights police, who were also involved in the response, declined to answer any questions about the incident or other encounters at the same address. Minnesota does have so-called red flag laws. We already know about that, and that is the bottom of the article. There's an article that was updated an hour ago, updated 11 minutes ago. Fuck, man. 23-year-old Robin Westman fired 116 rounds through the stained glass windows of a church, trying to kill as many children as possible. I won't dignify the shooter's words by repeating them. Acting U.S. Attorney for Minnesota Joseph Thompson said at a briefing Thursday, "They're horrific and vile, but in short, the shooter wanted to watch children suffer," which is true, unfortunately. Shooter's mother, Mary Grace, has retained a criminal defense attorney, and Ryan Gary, known for working with NFL star Colin Kaepernick on representing the George Floyd protesters. What the fuck? That's so fucking random! According to a warrant seen by Fox 9, Westman's father told police the shooter recently broke up with a significant and/or romantic partner and had been staying with a friend. The 2 children killed in the shooting have been named by their families. First was identified as 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel, whose father gave an emotional statement, which we read. Shortly after, Harper Moisky was named in a statement shared on her parents' behalf, which described the 10-year-old as bright, joyful, and deeply loved. 12 minutes ago. Minneapolis mayor responds to criticism. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has responded to criticism of his call for actions in addition to prayers in response to Wednesday's mass shooting. Frey was reacting to a post by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who wrote, "Those like Jen Psaki and Jacob Frey, who criticize prayers in the wake of the Minneapolis tragedy, are expressing the same anti-God sentiment that motivated the shooter. He aimed his wrath at God by trying to stop people with his bullets from praying to God. Now is a time for us to come together and join hands in prayer for the children who were killed, their loved ones, and those who survived this horrific shooting." The mayor responded, "In Judaism, under Heal the World, we're taught that prayer is necessary but not sufficient. Elected leaders cannot use prayers alone to let ourselves off the hook for our own inaction." I had no idea that Mayor Jacob Frey was Jewish. That's like the biggest fucking curveball I've seen thus far. School shootings in the U.S. are met with calls for thoughts and prayers for the victims, followed by stunning inaction from lawmakers to address access to guns. So this is the tweet that we just read there. Mayor Frey was joined by several Democratic lawmakers at City Hall on Thursday to call for state and federal bans on high-capacity magazines and assault weapons. Ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines now. Well, that's not going to help. Minnesota Senator Tina Smith has also expressed her support for such a move. She wrote on X, "What civilian on God's green earth needs a gun that fires 116 rounds that quickly?" Jen Psaki responds to MAGA's bad faith attacks over her saying prayer is not freaking enough. And MSNBC host Jen Psaki fired back at the White House and other conservative critics who have slammed her for saying prayer is not enough in the wake of yet another mass shooting, calling the attacks bad faith and an effort to not address the issue of gun violence. 9-year-old girl ran from church to school gym despite injuries. Second story has emerged of an injured victim from the Annunciation Church mass shooting being taken to a hospital where their mother works. Vivian St. Clair, 9, was shot multiple times in her arm and back before being taken to the Hennepin County Medical Center. According to a GoFundMe page set up to support the family, despite her injuries, Vivi ran from the church to the school gym, where a police officer scooped her up and rushed her to an ambulance. She was taken to HCMC, where her mom, Malia, works. Doctors have shared that Vivi had several bullet fragments in her small body that they do not intend to remove, meaning she may carry them with her for life. She's receiving antibiotics and fluids, and through it all, she continues to smile and radiate sweetness. She's been telling people how excited she is to swim at her grandma's pool in Arizona this evening with her dad, just showing how innocent and hopeful she remains. Fox 9 reports that according to a search warrant, the shooter who opened fire on a crowd of people and killed 2 children at a Minneapolis church had recently broken up with a romantic partner. The warrant says that the shooter, who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, had been driving a van registered to their father when the attack was carried out. Beside the body, which was dressed in black tactical gear, were a rifle, shotgun, and pistol. During a search of the shooter's father's home, law enforcement recovered a Condor tactical vest with various attachments not related to law enforcement and security, 2 external media storage devices, and miscellaneous documents. The father told police the shooter recently broke up with a significant other and/or romantic partner and had been staying with a friend. The father also confirmed to police that the shooter attended Annunciation as a child and that the shooter's mother, his former spouse, worked there in the past. Do not let them take your guns. If they succeed, they will steal everything you have and then laugh in your face. Absolutely. An armed society is a polite society. Once we are disarmed, we are at the mercy of anyone who wishes to do any kind of harm. Never give up your right to defend yourself, man. Never give that up. Andy Neo said, why the media won't tell you who killed children at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis. A gunman killed children in a Minneapolis church. The shooter was trans. Media's already covering it up, just like Nashville. And he tweeted out these pictures, which I guess Elon Musk also responded to. Goddamn. Socialist Rifle Association is one of the far-left militia groups that train transgender and Antifa-linked radicals to kill. The Minnesota chapter uses the same symbols that the Minneapolis trans mass shooter put in his manifesto journal, detailing death before detransition. And here's one picture here with the really ugly flag with a gun on it that says, you gotta train if you want to bash back, which I'm guessing is a call to bash the fash. And here's another one, defend, that's a Q, defend equality on both of these flags. A Socialist Rifle Association. And then here is an excerpt from one of the videos, Robert's manifesto journal with the same flag here. A KMFDM and some bat cat on a skull. You're not against gun control, but you think there are some groups that might need some control. Well, if you're mentally ill, you know, those background checks should be coming in clutch to prevent mentally ill people from having firearms. That's why the background checks were invented, you know?